Some need be with an injury here or there, some just want to see so far in camp. Do you think this has been typical, or a little more active with maybe a younger roster?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit more movement early, but yeah, not pretty typical. Like how I kind of like to churn the bottom of it once we kind of, I think, get to a point with some players you just want to be able to see somebody else.
7 practices, how much of an indicator does that give you on what Jordan Love's going to be as a quarterback?
Oh yeah, not much. He's done a really nice job. Just like last year, I think defense kind of had the offense early, and that's usually a little bit of the case. Certainly was last year and has been this year. They made some strides over the past few days here, I think. But the next 2 weeks with the opportunities that this football team's going to have between the joint practices, family night, and 2 preseason games, going to be very big for us.
So as Jordan takes this next big step, do you think back to what did you see on that tape from 2018, 2019 from Utah State, both as a player and as a guy in your locker room, here now 3 years later?
Well, certainly from the tape, you could see all the physical ability, right? His ability to throw the football, move around, make plays. And as we got to know the person better, we just kind of felt like he was the kind of guy that could lead a football team. So certainly with the experiences being so young when he came out, we knew there was going to be a progression there. We obviously thought we had the ability, some time to do that. And I think he's really progressed. And he's, obviously he was a young man when he got here. He's still a very young man, but the maturity he's shown and grown with in our time has been impressive.
Brian, what are your thoughts on where things are with the backup quarterback spot right now? Just how do you assess kind of where that is and what you're looking for?
Yeah, there's some good competitions. I think you guys have been out there. You've seen each guy's had their moment, which is good. I think as, particularly a couple of the new guys learn the offense and being able to make plays within the offense, that's going to be important. Again, the preseason games are going to get a lot of work, and that should, I think, probably separate some things.
I know you always have to be patient with rookies entering their first camp. How is that any different with a kicker, especially with the unforgiving nature of that position? And is there any concern with Anders right now?
Yeah, no concerns right now. I do think it's one of those things that this is National Football League. You got to perform at every position. At the same time, we went into this, kind of knowing that rookie kickers can, will have some struggles, and with the thought process, there'll be some patience there.
Back to the backup quarterbacks, are you inclined to go with one of those guys as your number 2, or is that still subject to change?
Yeah, right now. Yeah, again, it's very early in camp, but they've done some good things. I think Matt's very happy with some of the things that they've done, but they all have kind of a little bit of a different skill set, but they all have athleticism and the ability to make plays with their feet, which is important. So as of right now, that's kind of my mindset is like, let's see who comes out of that group.
Brian, this past spring, you mentioned that coming out, you thought Zach Tom's best position was center. Did this happen organically, him challenging Josh at practice the other day, or did you have a hand in that?
Yeah, no, I think it's all, I think as you've seen, there's been a lot of competition on the offensive line throughout. Just the whole group, whole team, hopefully, but I think with that group in particular, they've been moving a lot of guys around, and some young players have really stepped up and improved their game from last year, which I think is going to start to challenge some of those guys that have more experience than they do. So, and that's a really good thing for us. So, but no, I think, Zach's got a very good, versatile, I say that a lot up here, but he's got a very versatile skill set that he's going to do a lot of things. And it's always the goal to end up with the best 5 you can find out there, however that is. And so we'll kind of see where all that lands. But all those guys' ability to play multiple spots is really important.
What degree did you have interest in, or did you try to bring Mercedes back for this season?
A lot of conversations, but I think after the draft, when we drafted the two young tight ends and really wanting to give those guys the best opportunity to move forward, I kind of think that's where our mindset is right now. We never really would close the door on guys that have performed for us, because you never know what's going to happen with injuries and things down the way. But we're really happy with those 2 young guys, how they're progressing along with the guys that have been here in the past.
So there's 1,000 reasons why I'd be a terrible GM. Among them is that I would hold on to old guys. Jordy would still be playing wide receiver. But explain to me why it wouldn't be valuable to have a 39-year-old guy who can still run block pretty well, and you guys are going to run the football, and who could teach these 2 young guys the ropes. I'm trying to understand why it doesn't.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. First of all, he's a really good player, and so having good players, it's good to have those guys. But at the same time, when guys need to play and need the snaps, I mean, if they're out there, those other guys aren't. That's just part of it. And so with all the players that leave here, especially the guys who have done things in the league and are veteran players, I mean, they're more experienced and they're going to be better players than some of the young guys. But at the same time, you can't get those young guys to that speed unless they get to play. So that's part of it. But again, he was a really good player for us. I mean, the amount of years he's played, I think he's probably, he's at the top of the list right now, and, he'll be missed, but at the same time, we're really excited about the young guys.
Matt was saying that he thought Dave and Elton were the best left side in football a couple of years ago. It's obviously been a while since they've been consistently healthy together. What could that do for you guys if they can get back to that?
Yeah, it could be huge. I mean, they just had limited opportunities to be out there together at their best, over the last few years because of those injuries. But they both look great right now. We're very excited that they could stay healthy and get out there and be out there consistently. But in both the pass game and the run game, and you guys know that have been around here, what they were able to do. I mean, when we run behind those guys, it's an impressive duo, along with our other guys and creating that consistency. But they're two of the best that we've had here.
What do you think your defense has maybe a little different swagger? If you agree that it does, it seems like they do to me, and maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, again, it's early, and that swagger usually is built and earned through, more of the regular season. But, I think there's some young players coming into their own and feeling that confidence, and maybe a few guys that have a different kind of edge that are stepping into leadership roles that maybe weren't in the past. I think, I've spoken about this before, but we certainly are going through a transition with our football team right now. And when you lose some veteran players that were leaders for you, it creates opportunity for some of these young guys to step in there and their leadership roles and the swagger that maybe they possess and stuff as well. So, yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on right now. Again, 7 days into training camp. That stuff's going to be earned in the regular season. But I like how the intentionality that some of our guys are kind of bringing to the table.
Who you see in those leadership roles?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd point anybody out, but even guys like Rashawn, who hasn't practiced yet. I mean the way he's pushing the group, Elton, Devondre, Quay. Some of these guys have done stuff in the past, but sometimes now I think they're more prominent in those leadership roles, and I think that's a really good thing for us. Aaron Jones, Jair. There's some definite swagger out there, but again, it's got to happen in the regular season.
Hey Brian, I kind of know your feeling on the value of joint practices, but just probably going to pack some of Ted's bubble wrap with you anyway to Cincinnati. But just again, what you want to see in that situation from your guys, and then conversely, you're also going to be looking at an AFC contending or AFC champion roster as well, and how that draws your eye over to them a little bit.
Yeah, joint practices are phenomenal for me, even though I am a Ted guy with the bubble wrap stuff. But at the same time, I think the joint practice, it's a controlled environment more so than a preseason game, so we can kind of control what we want to see against a real opponent, protect the quarterbacks, and put these guys in a live, more intense situation. So I think it's really, really important. And then, obviously being able to evaluate another really, really good football team so I think to me there's really very little downside to it if it's done right, and it's controlled and keep the fights down and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's very helpful to our football team. And we were kind of talking about it this week, just like as these young guys kind of get used to professional football, like understanding the different levels of intensity, and over the next 2 weeks. With family night's a different intensity because you get 70,000 in the stands and you're running out that tunnel for the first time and all that stuff, and then you go into an opponent on their practice field, which we haven't done here in my time, where we've gone to another team's practice facility and gone that'll be a different intensity, the preseason games, and then having the 2 joint practices here with the Patriots. So over the next 2 weeks, along with our travel, there's going to be a lot of stressors for these guys that they got to push through and fight through. I think that'll serve our team well in the long run. And it'll give us a lot of answers, too, I think, to what we're looking for.
Brian, how much time do you think Jordan needs or how much do you want him to play in this preseason?
Yeah, I think that's, again, the family night, the practice, Matt will get a better feel for kind of what we want to do there. What Jordan needs affects a lot of the other guys, right? Because if Jordan's in there, there's going to be a bunch of other players in there as well that may not play a ton in the preseason. So I think Matt will work through that and make good decisions. I mean, you guys have heard me say he needs to play. A lot of our guys need to play. That unit needs to play together. And and that's a tough call, you know, protecting the safety of those guys in these games, but also giving them the best chance to grow and be ready for the season.
Ryan, if you could reflect just a little bit, you mentioned the transition that you guys are going through organizationally. It seems to go a lot better than it did with Aaron 15 years ago. Case in point, Jordan's probably not getting booed on family night. How much did you learn from that experience, and how much has that made this process easier as you guys go through this transition?
Yeah, I hope I learned something from it. I've always kind of said, I don't know, I think they're not as similar as people think. Ted always used to joke that nobody would stand by him during that training camp. I'd tell scouts, because none of you guys would stand by me doing that, and at the time it was probably true. But I think, you know, it's tough to say. I think it's a completely different situation during that time. That all happened very quickly while we were in training camp. You know, family night, he was up in the suites, I believe, and all that. And I was here just, you know, for that week and a half. So I talked to Ted a lot about that time, you know, after the fact. And you know how introspective he was, and what could I have done better, those kind of things. But you know, for us, I think it's just, you know, I think whenever you turn the page on anything, it's about really kind of, you know, focusing and going all in with what's in front of you, you know, and allowing the process to really lead you to the answers you need. And so I think we've kind of leaned on that stuff.
Does that streamline the going all in process when there's no residual going on in the periphery like there was 15 years ago? Does that help that process?
Probably fair to say, you know, but it's, again, even though I was around during that time, I mean, you know, I was a road scout, and it was kind of like, well, good luck, I'll see you in February, you know what I mean? And so it was much different for me during that time. So, you know, I was in the Southeast, you know, I was heading to Georgia and Miami and Florida State and all that stuff, and getting back on the road. So that was my focus at the time, more so than anything else. So yeah, this has been really, like, again, I think a lot of it probably has to do with our football team and who we got on this team. We have some really good people in that locker room, and I think that they care about each other, and they understand that what they do affects each other, and so I think that's important as well.
But you were here that night, and you've been in the league a long time. A, was that the most surreal thing you've ever seen? And B, Jordan's still got to do it, I get that, but does it help him that it seems like the fan base is unified behind him?
Yeah.
For whatever foibles Rodgers has? That was pretty awful for him at times during that 08 summer.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some pretty surreal things in this league since I've been in, so I don't know if that's the most, but it was definitely interesting, you know. Yeah, I almost think that the training camp practices were more so intense than any of that, because when you're down on the field, you're somewhat protected, even though the crowd is what it is. But you know, those fans were up close, you know, as guys were walking off, and the one thing I'll say with Aaron and now Jordan going through, they were put in some situations that, you know, not on their fault at all, and both of them handled it with a lot of class. And I think when your teammates see you handling these things like that, I don't think they can help but you know, warm up to you a little bit. And I think, you know, this particular one, I think you know, who Jordan is as a person has been a big part of this transition.
When you look at, I totally understand your vision for the future, and you've talked about before about having all these guys grow together. That makes total sense. I am curious, though, if it makes it a little bit harder for a first-year starter to have success when there's so many other guys that are going to have growing pains and rookie mistakes. Even your two most veteran wide receivers didn't even play half the snaps last year. How do you kind of view what Jordan and all these young guys are up against in the present as you look toward what they could be like in the future?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a National Football League, you know, and I mean, it's, you know, we've brought veterans in here before, we did last year, and, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know, so it all depends on the person. I mean, I think as we went into the offseason, you know, we always, as you know, we look at all these options and weigh them and see if what makes sense. There would be particular players that I think would make a ton of sense to bring in here and help offense, defense, special teams. Some guys would come in, and because of their veteran status and where they are in their progression, would take a lot of snaps that maybe these guys need, you know. So, you know, I think as we go into this, I think it's just the important thing is to not, for us as a group, is to not put, you know, any ceilings on anything, and just go out and let these guys play and let them learn and grow. And I think whether it's a practice, joint practice, family night, preseason game, early season, regular season game, the learning and growing part has to be on the forefront, because this has to be more about, okay, as we go through this, we got to get better each week. We might be winning a lot, but we got to get better each week. You know what I mean? I think that's very important for this group, because so many of them have so much room to grow. But yeah, I think, it's you look at all those things, and what will help your football team the most, and what opportunities are out there as well, from not only from the players that are available, but the salary cap and everything that we have going, and try to make the best decisions. But we're really excited about this group, and like every NFL season, it's going to be hard, and it's going to have some downs, but we like the resilience they're showing so far.
Brian, go back to the quarterbacks. I know you said they've all had their moments, but is there anything in particular you're looking for? Do you want someone that plays like Jordan, a different look, experience, potential? Like, what are you looking for?
No, that's a good question, because I think there's a lot of ways you can look at it. You can try to get a bunch of similar guys that can run the exact offense that Matt wants to run. Sometimes you might have a guy that is more of a runner and that can change some things up. So, but I think for us, I think it's just more about, who can go out there within the offense and make plays and lead the team. And then also I think part of that's being supportive of, with Jordan and making sure that working relationship's really good, because that's more important, I think, than people think. But yeah, no, I think to me it's about, being able to take that group of guys out there, lead them, make plays, score points, make good decisions.
What are you looking for in your number 3 running back? Just getting the ball in the guy's hands, it would seem like Tyler's a pretty obvious choice, but there's a lot more to it. So what are you looking for when you make that decision here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to me, and this goes for most of them, but particularly that third running back, not only does he have to run the ball, but almost more importantly, he has to catch it, and he's got to be able to pass block, and he's got to be able to play special teams, right? Because that's a role he's going to do. If he's lacking in that area, if he can't play special teams, if he can't pass block, it's going to be hard to use them, you know what I mean, on the 48-man roster. So, there may be players, really good running backs, that have a deficiency, but they're the number 1 back and taking all the carries, and that's okay. But when you're the third guy, you have to be versatile enough to do all those things. Those guys aren't easy to find, but I think that's really, really important, and that will separate, who ends up winning that job.
Brian, conceivably, you could have a rookie kicker, a first-year punter, and a rookie long snapper. Would you ever do that? I mean, would that just be out of the question to be that young in all 3 positions?
Well, 2 out of the 3, I think, right? We did that, with varying success. But I do think, I would do it if those guys were the best for the job. I mean, I don't think I would shy away from that. It's about performance, more than anything. I think that's why these opportunities over the next 3 weeks or so, we have to put these guys in enough spots that we can know what we have. If it's training camp, and the amount of practices and everything that we're doing has gotten to a point we don't have as much time as we used to figure that out, which can make it a little bit tough. But that's going to be important for us moving forward here the next 3 weeks.